We are officially in a sweet spot right now. Mornings are beautiful. I think it's still spring, but if you have lived in Florida long enough, you know the humidity is creeping up. The love bugs are just about to make their grand entrance. April and May are the prime time for those honeymoon flies. So if you are in the garden this month, you are going to have company. These bugs love the heat and they are drawn to the smell of fresh mulch. My best advice is to get your planting done early in the morning before they really activate around 10 a.m. That's when they just really come out and take over the backyard. Anyhow, don't let the love bugs slow you down, because April is a critical bridge month, because this is where we start moving from our spring crops into our heavy hitters that can actually handle summer. Because most of the summers you guys are not going to see me outside. I do not come outside during the heat. It's for the spring breakers and the vacationers. This heat is not made for my skin. I know. Anyhow, these plants have been feeding families for a long time, and they are very known in the Caribbean, but we don't really pay much attention to them here in zones 8 through 11. So that is what we're covering today. So all of the seeds and the plants I'll be mentioning today are linked in my Amazon shop below. I'll drop it so you can easily grab it and you ain't got to go find it. So if you're new here, I am Tony. I've been growing here in Central Florida. So welcome to our garden. I want to kick off with some of the plants that we rarely even talk about. These crops was feeding families in the Caribbean, West Africa, Central America, and they belong here in Florida. They love this climate, and why not share them? My first one is yam, specifically yellow yams. I remember going to the store, I think it was the farmer's market, or what do you call it, Timashe back then. If you know, you know. I remember going to Timashe and you had to find yams, or if you went to any of the Caribbean stores or some of our Asian markets, you will find these there. So my mom would tell me I need to go, and you have to go in, and I don't know if you can see it, you got to peel it back, and if it's yellow, that's the one you pick. Yellow yam is its own plant entirely, a completely different species, and it is a staple for a reason. If you grew up eating it, I don't really need to go into the details, but if you didn't, the best way to prepare these, you can boil it. It's typically served with rich stew, and you can slice it, you can fry it. You eat it for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, it didn't matter. It holds up to any preparation. It is filling in a way that store-bought produce just doesn't hit the same. So what you need to know is how to grow it. So yellow yam is a vining plant. It is not a small vine. We're talking 15 to 20 feet easy. So you want to put it next to a trellis, a fence, a tree. You want to make sure it has something to climb before you put it down. I'm gonna make this very clear. It is a long gain crop. Look at the size. This is not a regular little potato. It takes about 6 to 12 months to harvest, and it is definitely worth the wait. So if you plant it now, it'll be ready around the holiday time. You'll be putting up your own yams right out of your own backyard. This is something to brag about if you're growing it. I prefer these in ground. I know some people do grow them in pots, but just make sure you put them in a big enough pot. This do well in zones 9 and up. The next one is Chaya. So this is a tree, or it can be known as a tree spinach. One of the most productive leafy greens you can grow in Florida. One plant gives you more leaves than you ever know what to do with. It is drought tolerant once established. It grows back aggressively every time you harvest it. I'm gonna make sure you guys can hear and see me very clearly. You do not eat this raw. You have to cook it at least 20 minutes of boiling and leave the lid off. This is not optional. This is for safety. The no lid part matters because it lets the gas escape. Chaya contains a compound that has to be cooked off completely before it is safe to eat. Once it's cooked though, it is mild, it's versatile, it's incredibly good for protein, iron, calcium, all in one leaf. So the best way that you can eat it, you can saute it with garlic and butter, or drop it in some soup. You can cook it just like you cook any other greens. It disappears into the recipe in the best ways. You only need 1 or 2 plants. This thing will take over your garden if you let it. So the best zones are zones 9 through 11. And if you're gonna put them in containers, it needs to be a big container because it does take up a lot of space. My next, I don't think I talk about it enough, so let's do it. Number 3 is plantains. We hear enough about bananas, so I don't really need to spend that much time. I think I have so many videos on bananas that you can go and find. This one is a real staple here because plantains and bananas are not the same, and I feel like it glossed over constantly. They are starchier, they're denser, and they are a serious food crop. If you harvest them when they're green, they're tostones. They're your favorite savory side dish. Oh, my Miami people will be mad at me. Tostones. I think I'm saying that right. Y'all gonna correct me either way, so whatever. They are your savory side dish, your green plantains. I use them as fried plantains. We Haitians, we put them in soups. We call them banan. So you can do banan peze or boiled banan or boiled plantains. You put them in your soups. They're so good. I want to pause and just give you guys a recipe you can make for them. There's so many things. We didn't eat cereal growing up in a Haitian household. We had filling food. All right. If you let them ripen to yellow and you're in between stages where they're still firm and they're slightly sweetened, which I think is my favorite, you can still boil them. Baking is good. Frying is even better. But if you let them go to the dark or black, and that is when you have maduros. I think I said that right. They're sweet, they're caramelized, and honestly, they're dangerous because you cannot stop eating them. I think my husband moved from Ohio because of those plantains. He moved because of rice and beans and plantains, specifically sweet plantains. So one plant, it gives you that entire range depending on when you harvest it. And just like bananas, once you plant it, you get pups coming up around the mother plant that keeps the cycle going. So the tip is once the mother stalk fruits, you cut that down. I know it feels counterintuitive, but that is how you redirect all the energy back into the pups so they can take off and keep the rotation going. So 2 or 3 plants together, that is enough. You just make sure you have a lot of water. They are very thirsty plants, just like bananas, and you'll have a continuous harvest that basically manages itself. It's very low maintenance, just like bananas once you get them going. The best zone is for 9 through 11. Zone 8, you may go through that freeze that can take them out, but you can grow them in pots. And we had a freeze last winter. We covered them, and now all of them are still popping back up, so they will be fine. If you want to grow them in pots, you want a dwarf variety, at least a 15-20 gallon pot, to ensure you give the rhizomes some room to grow. The next one we're going to talk about is Luffa. Yes, the sponge. But here's what most people don't know. When you harvest young, when it's about 6 to 8 inches, it is edible. The flavor is mild, it's slightly sweet, similar to a zucchini. It's delicious in a stir fry or soup or even curries. And in a lot of Asian cooking, traditionally Luffa is a regular vegetable. It's only in the US that we skip the kitchen entirely and using this as a bathroom product. So let it mature and dry on the vine and you get a sponge. But if it's young, you get food. The great part, you get a food crop and a house product from the same plant. It is also a vigorous climber that will cover a trellis fast and double up as shade in your garden. So get it in the ground now. You want it established before the June rain hits so it doesn't struggle getting started. They do well in pots. You just want to make sure, again, it is a large enough pot that can contain it. So 15 and up is the best with the tall trellis. So I planted these cassavas. A lot of Florida grocery stores and neighborhoods, especially in the South and Central Florida, know it as yucca. But I planted this maybe a few weeks ago and they're already coming up. They do great in the heat. They're very low maintenance, and as you can see, they're thriving right now. So cassava is starchy, it's filling, and what most people around the world rely on when they really need food. You can boil it, you can serve it up in a stew, you can make bami. The root goes so many directions in the kitchen, it is almost unfair not to put it in your yard. You can dry it and grind it for flour. It's in this types of food you can make with cassava. One plant gives you so much root so you won't be hungry. So if you get your stakes in the ground now, they're extremely low maintenance once they're established. The heat don't bother them. I actually put them in the center of this section here because this is my primary location for heat, and it does very well. Just a quick companion plant to note, cassava does great with pitchy peas, so that's why we have them planting in between, because they are a great fix for nitrogen. So you provide partial shade for the cassava roots, and you're getting another harvest on top of that with your pitchy peas. So you're getting protein and starch, and if you put some pineapples back there, you got pineapples going. You have a whole kitchen of produce right here. You can see I got onions down here, everything going right here. So you don't want to plant 1 or 2. If you can get quite a few down, put them down because they're beautiful when they grow. I can talk endlessly about cassava, and if you want a separate video about it, let me know in the comments below. I'll go into the details more about cassava. We don't talk enough about it. It needs its own show. I think so. If you do too, let me know. All right, so the next one is southern peas. What you typically will plant with them are black-eyed peas, yard-long beans. These thrive in the heat and they're fixing nitrogen in the soil the whole time, which means they're feeding the plants around them. So let's talk about what you do with them, because southern peas are seriously comfort food. Listen, it is a pot of black-eyed peas with smoked turkey, rice, and a piece of cornbread. That is a whole meal from your garden. That's food that fills a whole family. If you're only putting down 1 or 2 plants, don't bother, because you're only going to get a handful and you're going to be frustrated and mad. You want to get at least a good cluster going so you can actually harvest and cook them. If you're not sure where to plant them, if you already have Seminole pumpkins down, they are a great companion for those. Or if you have any squash, you can put them on the base of those. They fix nitrogen and they fill in the space, and they don't compete aggressively. These peas grow well from zones 8 through 11. If you're in zones 9B and up, you can do multiple successions through the summer, and they are pot friendly. So the next one is sweet potatoes. So with sweet potatoes, I'm gonna share a fast flip tip here. So here's what I prefer to do it, and it has changed the game for me. I take a sweet potato, I lay it sideways in a shallow tray or a damp potting soil or in sand, and bury it halfway. Put it outside where it feels the Florida heat and the humidity, not inside under a grow light. And in about 10 days, you'll start to have slips that you can actually put in the ground with no problem. It is my go-to. We plant them in April because you want to get them ahead of the heat. You want them to get established while the conditions are in your favor. So you give them room to run, and they give you massive harvest come fall. And sweet potatoes are one of those crops where you can basically use everything. You can roast them, you mash them. Listen, I ain't got to go over what you can make with sweet potatoes, but make sure you use the leaves because they're just as delicious. Now, if you don't have time to grow the slips, you can buy them. Most Tractor Supply, Home Depot, all of them sell the slips. Very inexpensive if you want to get them right away. So one thing I would say, 1 or 2 slips is not going to cut it. So the plan is to at least have 6 to 8 if you want a real yield. They're excellent ground cover near any taller plants like your pigeon peas, or I have some berry bushes that I have them under. They're great to suppress weeds, and they help the soil stay cool. They fill in a lot of spaces, so you don't have to just plant just the sweet potatoes. I love them as ground cover. Now, if you want to plant them in bags, the best bags are large fabric bags, at least 15 to 25 gallon. The deeper, the better, so they can give you nice sized potatoes. Don't get a little 5-gallon bag. That ain't gonna work. I'm just sorry to say. So if you plan on planting melons or squash, you're basically racing the clock right now. So the earlier in April you get these going, the better. But these, I am still eating from my last harvest. These are my pumpkins, my squash. I am not a fan of zucchini. I'm sorry, they're very big for nothing. I prefer this squash. They love Florida heat. They're very low maintenance. You plant 1 seed and get 12 of these per seed, 12 to 14 per seed. They store very well, almost unbelievable. They look like little decorations. They taste rich and sweet like a butternut squash, but deeper. It's more complex with almost a nutty quality. When you roast it with a little bit of olive oil and salt, it'll change your life. I'm telling you. So make this into a soup, make it to the curry, stuff it, stew it. It don't matter. You can do a lot with it. And because it stores very well, you are not rushing to use it. I don't have time for plants to tell me when they want to be picked. I'm gonna pick you when I'm ready. This one is one of those that just sit there and it's like, you get it when you get at me. I love those type of plants. Oh, goodness. So you need about 2 to 3 plants is plenty. So they do well in zones 9 through 11. And if you're in zone 8, you want to get in there a little bit early. They are pot friendly. If you use a pot of 20 and up, they will do well in pots. So if you're going to do pots, just make sure you put it on the trellis, and it gives you a lot more room. Now, if you're low on space, melons and Seminole pumpkins do well with southern peas planted nearby or sunflowers nearby. They pull in those pollinators that when your blooms open, your bees will be right there and ready. So let's talk about your tropical greens. There's a few greens that do not mind the heat. I'm not going to talk about lettuce. Don't you dare put lettuce outside right now. Don't do it. So longevity spinach or Okinawa spinach, plant them once. They keep going all year. The flavor is mild, it's slightly earthy. It blends beautifully into stir fry or soups or smoothies, or saute them with garlic. And because they are so mild, they're great for sneaking greens into meals for people who claim they don't really like greens. So you only need a few cuttings to start because they spread and they fill fast. The best zones for them are zones 9 and up. And if you have them in zone 8, you may want to put them in pots and just trellis them. They go beautifully on trellises. The next green is Egyptian spinach. So they grow like weeds in the heat and they're packed with nutrients. The flavor has a slight earthy, almost like green tea quality, and you can cook it down and it gets silky. That is why it is the base of molokhia soup, one of the most beloved dishes across North Africa and the Middle East. If you never heard of it, imagine a rich green stew served over rice with chicken. It is deeply comforting food, so you just need 1 or 2 plants and will give you more leaves than you know what to do with. So the best zones are zones 9B and up, and you can again put them in pots. You just want to make sure they're big enough. Can't talk about what to plant without talking about flowers. Flowers are not just decoration. If you haven't seen my video about it, you need them in your garden to do the work. So they're bringing in the pollinators that are helping setting fruit on everything else, and several of them you can eat. So marigolds, you plant these nearly everywhere. Throw the seeds down, they're gonna grow. You ain't gotta do nothing for them. They help deter pests and they attract beneficial insects. They are well-rounded. They are needed in the garden, and they're beautiful. Oh, they're so beautiful. So zinnias are great as well. They attract the butterflies, and bees cannot resist them. They're easy from seed, and they love the heat. They keep blooming throughout the summer. The next one is blue butterfly pea. The flowers make the most stunning blue teas. You can add lemon and it turns purple right in front of you. It's a great thing to show the kids. You can use them as lemonade, cocktails, or even in rice for color that will stop people in their tracks. It's also nitrogen fixer. One thing I want to be clear about, especially if you have little ones running around, stick to the flowers. The seed pods are not something you want your kids to snack on. The flowers are the prize. Leave the pods alone. And the best zones are 9 through 11. So the next one is celosia. It is an edible flower and edible leaves. They love this heat. The leaves taste mild and slightly spinach-like. If you want to, you can toss them in stir fries or soup. They are stunning for the garden and on a plate, and they do great in all zones in Florida, and they're pot friendly. This is a great one to add to the garden during this time. Now, you guys know me. We can't talk about April without talking about fruit trees. Every month you wait is a month you're not eating from them. So April is a great time to get these in the ground while we still have mild mornings to help them get established before June and July really cranks up. So here are a few that I suggest right now. Papayas, again, they can fruit in less than a year and the whole plant is useful. You can eat the fruit ripe and sweet, or you can harvest it green and make green papaya salad. They're crisp, refreshing, and completely different from the ripe version. The leaves and the seeds also have traditional medicinal uses people have relied on for generations, and you want to plant 2 for a backup, because if one go down, you got another one. All of these plants right now, mulch is your best friend. As the sun gets higher, the soil is going to dry out faster. So if you haven't mulched your beds yet, stop what you're doing today, go handle that first. So if you're not mulching, you're going to be watering a lot more. This is what keeps your soil alive. This is what keeps your roots alive, and it is feeding your soil at the same time. So you can use straw, wood chips. Just make sure you have a thick layer in every bed, in every pot, everywhere. So guys, I covered a lot. The time is to get those seeds in the ground or in your pots today. Everything I mentioned, I'll be putting in the description below, whether you find it on Etsy or Amazon shop. I'll put where I find my seeds in the description, so you have no excuse to go and plant. Let's get growing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I appreciate the support. If you want to understand what's going on in your garden and you need one-on-one help, I have created a membership. If you're interested to find out how you can become a member, I'll put the information in the description below. Thanks again for your support. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.